Hey, can you hear me? Can you see me? Just say something in the chat and then we go for the questions. It's a new format, so we didn't have that for 2 years. So I'm trying to get back to this new format where you ask questions and I answer them. So let me know in the chat whether you can see me and you can hear me, and then I go straight to the questions you guys are asking. Okay. All right. So I see that the majority of questions are in English, so I will try to answer them in English. I hope that Russian-speaking people can still understand me, and we will both practice this foreign language. I mean English. So first question: can you recommend the books that helped you craft your knowledge on object-oriented programming and software architecture? If you go to my blog and just type books there, you will see a number of blog posts which I wrote, which are exactly answering this particular question. There are a list of books. But if you want to know exactly one or two books, then I can recommend two of them. Actually, they're staying on my desk in the office. The first one is Object Thinking by David West. Definitely changed my life. It changed my understanding of object-oriented programming and programming in general. And the second book is about management. You'll be surprised. This is the book which prepares you for the PMP exam. There's an exam which we can pass and get this certification. Sorry. And get a certification for as a manager. And there's a book which prepares you for this certification written. I don't know what's happening. Written by Rita Mulcahy. And this book actually changed my understanding of management, of how things have to be managed in a software project. So these two books. But I think that before you get to these books, you need to read other books as well. So make yourself be prepared for them and then read these two. Next question: you wanted to be who you wanted to be when you were a child? Have you always wanted to be a programmer? I never wanted to be a programmer. I don't think kids actually want to be someone, and I don't think I actually wanted to be someone. I just wanted to solve problems, which I had when I was a child. So I remember the problems I had, like the bicycle was broken, or uh, the, I didn't have a dog and I wanted to get a dog. Like a friend of mine was not giving me something which I wanted to get from this guy, and my teacher was not giving me the results for my kid exams, something like that. So I never asked myself that question: who do you want to be? I just wanted to solve problems, and I still don't want to be anyone. I still interested to. I'm quite practical man, good or bad, I don't know, but I just solve the problems which I see in front of me. And the more interesting the problem, the more interested I am to solve it. So that's how I organize my future, by just solving problems one by one. So I'm not really strategic, to be honest. I'm not thinking far ahead. I'm not thinking who I want to be in 10 years. Even though I ask this question on the interviews, when people come to me and I get interested in somebody, then I usually ask this question for the candidates. I ask, who do you want to be in 5 years, in 10 years? And if I don't hear the answer, if the answer is, I don't know, well, I don't think so far ahead, then I'm a bit concerned about this person. So if you ask me who I want to be, and if you're going to be my potential employer, then of course I will build the future. I will build the picture of my future, like what I'm doing, what kind of problems I solve. But still, this story will be around the problems. So I will always tell you what exactly I'm working with. So not who I am, but what kind of problems I solve, how big they are. And I actually, in general, judge the person in front of me by the size of the problem which bothers these people and the importance of this problem. So the bigger the problem, the more important it is, the more important it looks to me and to the humanity, the more respect I have for this person. So that's how I judge people. So I'm trying to judge myself the same way. Next question: what do you think about the future of software engineering? What language will be required? I I'm pretty scared about the future of software engineering. I'm scared about the world because of the politics. That's what's happening right now between countries. It scares me a lot, and the world of IT also scares me a lot with the appearance of this artificial intelligence. I don't know what's going to happen, but I can predict a little bit. So I can easily imagine the complete disappearance of programming languages the way we have them right now. So right now we have the languages which were invented 70 years ago. The concept of programming language was invented 70 years ago, and we haven't changed it since then. So we still have the same idea. We have the syntax, we have the keywords, we have the lines of code, we have the constructs, if, then, else, we have functions, we have procedures, we have files. So all of these are the concepts which are inherited by us, and they were invented by people who are, most of them are dead right now. And we're still using this, we are still using the same paradigm. I think the future is different. Well, it's my prediction. I can't say I think so, but that's the scary forecast, that we will deliver our thoughts, our ideas directly to the computer without using the syntax of programming language, without structuring our thoughts in the way that we were doing 70 years ago. We will be just telling the computer what needs to be done and how, what we expect to exist, how it should work. So it's going to be a game which looks like Tetris, and there's blocks are dropping down, and the user can move left and right, and this game should have colors, and the colors should be configurable, and give me that game. And the computer will just give me the game. So I don't need to write the code for that, and nobody have to write the code. The computer will just somehow understand it. So these AI, these large language models, they may become future computers. They may become evaluation models in the future. So right now we have a language, programming languages. They are middlemen between me having an idea of how something has to work and the evaluation platform, the computer with the transistors and everything inside, and electricity inside. So maybe this middleman will be removed completely, and I will just directly deliver my thoughts to the smart computer who will do it right there. If this happens, and I don't know how many changes will happen. So it looks scary. Next question. Will be there an award for best project in this year? I'm afraid not, and I can tell you why. So I was doing this award, the project award, for many years, for I think 5 years or something. So I was giving money to the best projects, and I'm ready to give this money this year. I have no problem with that. I have the money. I'm ready to distribute this reward, this $4,000. But I'm very tired of reviewing the projects. It's kind of difficult work, and I had some volunteers earlier. Now I don't have them. So if somebody wants to do that for me, to organize all of this, I'm ready to give the money. But somebody has to step in and say, yes, we will collect these candidates, we will organize this review, we will collect volunteering reviewers, we'll do all the hard work, and I'm ready to donate the money. So if some of you is interested, then please come in. I'm ready. In what aspect developer's job is creative for you? Creative jobs. Well, as I said, so problem solving, these creative things. But I have a blog post about this, which is, I think, titled "What is the joy of programming?" So why I love programming? How do I find joy in this work? And I said there that the joy is the fun of the programming is to organize things in a way that you wanted them to see. So in the real world, it's hard to find the area where everything will look like I want this to look. Well, everything will look as beautiful or as elegant as I am expected to look. In programming, you can find that. So you can structure your code the way you like. You can structure your design. You can do the architecture the way you find interesting. And that's what gives me fun. And if you can even make other people do the same in your project, if you can even give them the rules of work, give them the system of how you see beautiful world, and they all contribute and keep your world beautiful, that's the biggest joy for me. If you ask me why I love programming, because of that. Because I see how things get. It's creative, because who's the biggest creator in the world? It's God, right? Well, according to the religious beliefs. So we believe that there was someone who was creative and who did the first creation. And this creation is beautiful and elegant and everything. Well, some people may have some doubts about that, but still, in general, the creative work is being God in your small scope, in your small territory where you can be creative. So find that place. Find the place where you can organize things like you like. That's what I'm doing. forget about the advice. I'm just answering the question how I find joy. What another project? Another question: what projects and initiatives inspiring you now? Well, I'm going to be very, very obvious in this answer. It's ChatGPT, definitely. So it definitely shows me something which I haven't seen before, and I'm really surprised that this is happening. That's definitely inspiring. Вопрос по-русски. Что изучать программисту в самом начале карьеры, чтобы в дальнейшем стать рок-стар? In English, what the programmer has to learn in order to become a rock star in the future? Well, I think the best way to become a rock star is to not to study something, but to make something. So if you just study, you will be just a smart guy who will always have to prove that he's or she's a rock star. It's going to be difficult for you. If you make something, then this creature will prove it for you, will be the guarantee for you that you are a rock star. So look at these rock star people. They are the people who I know that claim to be rock stars, claim to be super valuable people, and the people with big salaries, and they don't really write that much code anymore. They don't really contribute anywhere anymore. They just have something in their portfolio which any company would love to buy. And in most cases, these are open source projects. These are maybe books, maybe some technologies, and that's the best case. If you invent some technology, if you become the author of some standard, then yes, that's going to be your portfolio. So try to make something which will have value today, tomorrow, and 10 years later. And while you make this, you learn how to make it. So by itself, the knowledge, I don't value much. I don't think that just collecting knowledge and becoming smarter and smarter in some technology actually gives you something value. You're not an encyclopedia. You're not in school anymore. Well, unless you're 15 years old, then yes, collect the knowledge. But if you're older than that, then your value is what you do. Your value is in your business, is in your products, is in your contribution to us, to humanity. So find something which you can do. And even if you do something which is not valuable right now, just keep doing something else, keep doing something else. So make different things. That's what I'm trying to do, at least. How to improve mentoring skills for every new mentee you kind of start from scratch. Is there a way to build a good mentoring process pipeline? Oh yeah, definitely write a blog or make the YouTube videos. So I'm super boring. I'm sorry. I'm super boring. Maybe I'm super lazy. I'm super lazy in mentoring somebody, in teaching somebody, even though it may look different. Like you see my lectures on YouTube, so I look like I love to teach, but it's not true in a traditional understanding of this. If you ask me to give a lecture somewhere and you don't film this lecture, I will be super lazy to do it. I will ask a lot of money from you if you ask me to do that. I will ask you to pay me a lot. I will be super reluctant to do that. It's not going to make me happy. So only when I know that my mentoring, as you call it, my teaching is going to be delivered to many, many people for long. So it's not this way. As long as I know that I'm not going to do it again, I will do it happy. I will do it with a pleasure. If I know that what I'm saying, I will need to repeat tomorrow again, I don't like saying that. Like literally, it just makes me like uncomfortable on a physical level. And sometimes, you know what happens? Sometimes I give a lecture and I forget to turn on the camera. It happens sometimes, or you turn on not the right camera, or your disk is full of doesn't have enough space. So I had it just a few weeks ago. I was filming and then my phone just switched off. So the whole lecture was destroyed. That's extremely annoying for me. Even though there were people in front of me, I was giving them the information. They were my mentees, as you call them. But I was extremely unhappy of this situation, that I was saying things, but I have to say them again. I have to do it again. That's extremely boring and very. So when somebody emails me, it happens sometimes. When somebody emails me and says, "We know that you blah blah blah, you speaker. So how about you come to our company or you come to our conference and speak there?" And the first question I ask is whether this conference is open, whether I can film the presentation. And if they say, yes, you can film the presentation, you can use this video anywhere. And then, okay, will you come? In most cases, I will say, okay, definitely, I'll be there. I don't charge you anything. Just buy me the tickets if you're in a different city, and that's it. But if they say, no, 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 it's a private conference, so it's only for our company, we just do it for our people, then I say, well, you have to pay me good amount of money for me to do it. You don't allow me to film it, then I ask for quite a lot of money. So many people just walk away when they hear how much I want, because it's uncomfortable for me. Not because I'm greedy, not because I really want more than like it's not a huge amount of money. I'm not asking for $20,000, but I'm asking for a few $1,000s, and it's not because this every $1,000 matters to me, but because it's a lot of discomfort for me. So, answering your question, how to have fun with the mentor, when the mentee, don't mentor twice. Just every time you see that you have to mentor, that you have to say what you said before, just write an article, make a video, make a document for that. Just share it with people, and then the next mentor mentee comes to you, the next uh, student, then you just share that paper. This is how exactly how I started blogging. I saw that I keep repeating myself. I keep saying things which I already said before. So I started writing, and I keep doing it the same. So almost every article on the blog which I write is motivated exactly by that. I just know that I said it already and I will have to say it again. So I sit down and write it as a blog post, or I make this video or other videos. Next question. How to improve mentoring skills? Okay, sorry. We'll just answer that. На русском. Егор, как вы относитесь к модному сейчас движению волков, когда мы новички с нулем опыта в индустрии и иногда без знаний накручивают его в резюме, чтобы попасть на собеседование в компании? Считаете ли вы это допустимым? Вредит ли это действительно рынку найма, индустрии и другим специалистам? Well, my position here is that it may sound a little bit counter ethical to you, but let me repeat the question first. So the question is, what's my attitude to people who present themselves, who lie basically in their resume when they go to the interview? So they say more than they have in reality, and trying to get a better job in the company. I sympathize them. So I believe that they're doing right thing. So they're trying to get more from the people who have no skills to verify them, to validate their knowledge. And it's only a mistake of the employer. It's always a mistake of a company who hire people, who presented themselves better than they really are. So my recommendation to all of you, do that. So do that. Try to get more. Try to sell better than you are. Fake it till you make it. In most cases, I believe, if you honestly, if inside you are a good person, that you really want to work, that you really want to honestly give your contribution to the humanity, to other people, then you will catch up to the promises you've made. So you promise that you know Oracle database, but you don't really know it, but you will catch up. You will get there because you honestly want to work. If you're a bad person, if you're really lazy, if you want to if you really like to steal, instead of earn, then my advice of how to present your resume is not going to change anything. You will still join the company and you will not work there. You will not contribute. So maybe I'm being a little bit ambiguous here, but to summarize, I have no problem with that. So when people come to me, I said it many times, my interview usually takes 10 minutes. So I interview people within 10 minutes. I understand who is in front of me. And you know how I do it. I said it many times. I just show the piece of Java code, and I ask if it's a Java person. I ask that Java person to tell me what is it on the screen, what do they see, and how many mistakes they see the author of the code has made. And what they find and how they explain me the code they see in front of them, it tells me everything. I don't need to even look at their resume. I don't pay attention to that. I just listen to how they describe the code they see. That tells me everything. And on the resume, I only pay attention to the links to the GitHub projects. That's all I care about. If I see no links, I just close the resume. I don't pay attention to all the words and descriptions of the companies they work with. It doesn't matter to me. I just look at the products. So show me what have you done. And if you are 40 years old and the last 20 years you were working in different companies, and I ask you, okay, show me something that you created, like a programmer, some open source library, some little piece of something. And they say, no, actually, we had no opportunity to do open source. We were mostly contributing to large enterprise projects. For me, like somebody said in the comment recently on one of my YouTube videos, it's an old junior programmer. It's not a senior programmer. It's an old junior programmer, just old by the age. So there is no seniority there. It's just a guy who was 20 years old. Now he's 40 years old with the same skill set, with the same attitude to life, with the same attitude to the craft. So that's there are two things that are indicators for me: how they answer to the questions of how they explain the code and how they find bugs in there, and how much they made for us, how much they created for us, for other programmers. Next question. How are your PhD studies going? How much they differ from your initial expectations? Have you learned anything new? Oh, that's an interesting question. Thanks for it. Well, actually, it's going very difficult, but it's going, and I'm spending 90% of my time on that. So I actually found that it's more difficult and more interesting than I was expecting. So I'm not really trying to get just a badge, just a PhD badge, which is not so hard to get. You know, taking into account the amount of articles I have. So I have the materials for that. So I'm interested to do it the right way. So actually to make a contribution, a scientific contribution. And then when the contribution is visible and I see it and I'm proud of it, then I just pack it up and show it as a PhD work and defend it and get the badge. So far I don't have it. So far I don't have a strong scientific contribution, which I would love to have. And it looks like it's more difficult to get. More difficult than I expected. So the biggest problem for me is learn how to present results. So science and engineering, they differ, in my opinion, as how I see it now. They differ in the way you present your results, in the way you formulate what you have achieved. In engineering, you just make it work, and that's it. You make it work better, faster than other solutions, and people just like it. They accept it, and that's it. And there are different kind of people. They're engineers. In science, you need to really formulate your point properly, and your points usually are much smaller than in engineering. In engineering, you need to present the complete solution, which includes everything, and then people will accept it. In science, every little achievement, every little improvement, you turn into a paper, you turn into a 10 pages work, which you present on the conference, and then they judge you. So it's different stories. So now I'm on an interesting path to becoming a researcher. Another question: I would like to hear your approach to merging branches into the main thread on GitHub, so that it's not too late, because products sometimes start to differ greatly. Well, they're called stale branches, to my knowledge. The branches which you create, and then you wait until the branch get merged, and you wait for too long, and then eventually you see that you cannot get it merged. And then in this time, you just close the branch, you forget the code, and you start a new branch. It's a big problem in large companies, in any company, maybe in small companies as well. But the larger the team, the more visible is going to be this problem. So you will have more and more branches of that kind, because of the conflicts between people, especially if the repository is small. So you understand the symptoms. So how to deal with that? I suggest to ask people. Actually, people will understand it by themselves, so you don't need to tell them anything. But if you punish them for the stale branches, then they will find a solution. If you don't punish them anyhow, if you just say, well, whatever, it happens, and then they will blame you. They will say, I can't work in this company because in this company my branches are too old, they don't merge my branches, so they are guilty. So your job as a manager, as an architect of the project, is to make them guilty, is to make programmers guilty for stale branches. The best scenario, don't pay them. So let's say you pay them, or you reward them for every branch they merge. So if they don't merge, if the branch was staying for too long and then it was deleted, just don't pay them. That's going to be the punishment. If you do that, the people will figure out very quick that the branches must be small. The changes you make to the code must be very small. In this case, you have a chance to get to the code base faster than everybody else. So people will make smaller pull requests, and that will guarantee faster merge. So that's, I think I'm saying the obvious things in this case. Next question. What's your thoughts on Java education? Greetings from Brazil. Well, thanks for coming from Brazil. Thanks for listening. What I think about Java education, I'm not really part of it. I don't teach Java. I don't know how they teach Java. I don't know. I don't read books on Java for, the last maybe 10 years. So it's hard for me to judge exactly how they teach Java, but I see the code programmers right in Java. And this code tells me that there are some problems with Java and with Java education. Um, I think the best teacher in any programming language, if you ask me, is a good static analyzer. Again, I said it many times. A good static analyzer is the best mentor, the best aggregator of the knowledge which the entire community accumulated while working with this language. When I started learning new language, I started, probably it was a year and a half ago or something, maybe 2 years ago, I started to learn Rust language from Google, I believe. I read a book. Well, not the entire book. It's too boring to read the entire book. But I read a few chapters. I got the idea of the syntax. I got the language concept as it was necessary for me. Of course, not everything. I didn't understand everything because it's too much. And then I wrote a few programs. So I was interested in creating something, not learning the language, but making something using the language. So I made what I wanted to make. And then the next question I asked myself, that was about like 1 week after I finished reading the book. What is the static analyzer? And then I found Clippy. I think that's the right name. Clippy, that's the analyzer for Rust. So you just install it and it starts telling you that you are not writing the code properly. And that's how you start learning. That's how you get the knowledge about the Rust in general. And Clippy is not the very powerful static analyzer. In Java, we have much more powerful things. So when you teach Java, I would suggest, and when you learn Java or you teach Java, I would suggest to structure your teaching, to organize your teaching all around some static analyzers. If I would be invited to some university, maybe in the future, to teach Java, I would definitely structure all my lectures around the recommendation given by Checkstyle, for example, or PMD. I would just really structure, like, let's say 20 lectures. In every lecture, I would discuss maybe 5-7 different recommendations that the PMD is giving. And PMD is quite powerful. It gives maybe 100 or more recommendations. So I would just discuss every one of them. Why PMD is saying that, why it's important, why they recommend to do it this way, why they don't recommend it that way. This is how you learn the language. This is how you understand it better. Instead of all these books and lectures and examples, it's all far from the reality. I think it's far from the real practical community, because the static analyzers, they're written by the most professional programmers, by the programmers who know most of all how the code should look. So we should learn from them, not from the book writers, because in the majority, book writers are not really programmers. The book writers are book writers. They just write the books, but they really don't understand low level, not low level, but hard code programming in Java. Look at the Java books. How many of these people who wrote these books are active open source contributors to big Java projects? Ask yourself about that. Next question. Some people say that an object with only one method is not a proper object. It's more like a function. They say a proper object should have more than one method. What do you think about that claim? Well, what's wrong with object being a function? Why calling an object a function is offensive to an object? Yes, my object is a function. So what? It's good. I think it's only good. It's not bad. So why can't we write code in object-oriented language, an object-oriented style, using the the objects which look like functions. It's perfectly all right. What do you think about data-oriented programming and full pattern matching in Java 21? I see potential benefits. Java's flexibility is a significant asset, isn't it? Well, data-oriented programming. If I would know what it is exactly, I would be able to answer. But you were mentioning full pattern matching. It means that the pattern matching, like we see in Rust, for example, when we take something as an input and then we, according to this input, we just do something like in a switch, like in a switch case, something like that. As far as I understand, or we not even switch case. We just pattern. So you match by the regular expressions or something like that. Well, it's convenient, definitely. It's convenient. But in general, I would suggest to split the data from objects, the functionality and the data, to keep them separate. And joining them together and making them mixed so much inside the code makes, in my opinion, code less readable. So it's better to encapsulate data, to hide it, to make it less visible. And this data matching, they make the data more visible. So they actually say, hey, take my data and use my data and match my data and deal with it and parse what you see. And that increases the coupling between the producer of the data and the consumer of the data. So now they're much more connected. They're connected not through the functionality, not through the method calls, but they're connected through data interfaces, which makes them more coupled, and because of that, less maintainable. So the summary: I'm against this. Are you a capitalist? No, I'm quite the opposite. So I do not like capitalism in general. I don't like the idea of capitalism. I'm more not really Marxist, because I think Marxism is a utopia. I'm more like a Bolshevik philosophy. So this is what the Russian Revolution had 100 years ago in Russia, where the concept was to change life of people using force, using power. Because Marxism is about evolving. So Marxism thinks that we, as a community, as a society, we're going to evolve from the feudal regime, or what do you call it, to capitalism, then imperialism, and then from imperialism we move to socialism, and from socialism we move to communism. And they believe that it's going to happen because people gonna just want it. So people gonna love it. People will decide that this is the time for me to be a socialist. It's time to share. It's time to work more and consume less. And this decision, in my opinion, will never be made by people voluntarily. This decision can only be made by a small group of people, who then will extrapolate this decision, who will spread this decision on everybody. In most cases, using violence. In most cases, using force. So the majority of people actually want the opposite. The majority of people want to work less and consume more. And this is how we are born as animals. So we just get born and we want to be animals. We are born animals. The little kids, they have no idea what is sharing. They have no idea what is work. They just want to consume. And then we need to teach them, to train them, to make them become workers, become people who actually love to work and give to everybody more than they consume back. And I think in order to do that, we need a lot of power in the hands of a small group of people who really believe in this idea. But right now, it's not going to happen by itself, unfortunately. So pay attention. I'm not saying that violence is good. I'm saying violence is terrible. But unfortunately, this is the only way to get to the society of the future, where everybody just share, and they love to work, and they produce more than they consume, and there are no capitalists who absolutely have no work in their hands for generations. And the capitalists, they're born capitalists. They just except a very small group of capitalists who are self-made capitalists. But this is a small, tiny percentage of the entire society of capitalists. The majority of them, they're just born like that. So they just born rich, and they own us. They own the world. They don't need to work at all. They have no idea what is work. They only consume, and they protect themselves. So the only job they have is to protect their capitals against us, people who work for them. And that situation is, in my opinion, not really fair. And not only not fair, it's not really effective for the society. I don't think that this is the way This is how 7 billion people can produce more value to the planet. I think there is a better structure of the society, which is, I don't exactly know which one, because we tried the communism by force, and not everybody, let's put it this way, not everybody liked it. So maybe if we try it again, we may have the same consequences. So it's a long story. Maybe next time we'll discuss it. Why do certain JDK code snippets employ static methods, such as, and then there's a list of examples. Why they do it in JDK? Well, for the sake of performance, I think, because they want JDK to be fast. And if they make it through the normal methods, the object methods, it's going to be slow. So static methods is a solution for the performance issues, and this is how it's going to be until we invent a better compiler or a better virtual machine which will work better with objects. And this is basically the topic of my research. This is what we are thinking about: how to make a compiler or a virtual machine which will understand objects much better, comparing to how the standard Java virtual machine works. And if you're interested in this topic, then text me on Telegram. We'll discuss. Maybe you will be able to contribute as well and help us. So we are in general for the last 3 years thinking how we can make object-oriented code work faster on not without changing the way it looks. So how about we take the existing Java code where you have a lot of objects instead of static methods, then you run it on a traditional Java compiler through the traditional Java compiler on a Java virtual machine, and it works with certain speed. And then we somehow compile it differently with an understanding that some objects do not need to be objects, but you don't change the code. We just compile it differently, and then we run it, and boom, it works faster. So that's the research we're doing. So if you want, join us. Political question. Что бы ты спросил у Путина, если был бы с ним в одной комнате? What I would ask Putin, the president of Russia, if I would be able to ask the question. Well, I don't have specific question for Putin. I would, if you ask me, okay, if you want to know the specific question, I don't think he would give me the answer. I would ask him, what is the plan? So how does he see the future? How does he see the future of the country, of the world, of the people who live here and people who live there? So what is the trajectory into the future? And I believe that he will. I'm afraid that he would not give me the answer, not because it's a secret, but because he also doesn't really know what's coming. So I think the turbulence in the world is so high that even the people in power, even the people well informed about the situation, they don't know exactly what's coming. They don't know who is for who. They don't know who is playing against who. This is what scares me. So even a bad plan is better than no plan. So it seems now that the majority of people in the world, I'm talking about people in power, have no exact picture of the future. They don't know. So I would try to ask, but I don't think he would be able to answer. And that's sad. I mean, I'm not blaming him personally. I'm just saying that this is the situation in the world, in the whole world. Even I'm a big fan of this conspiracy theory. So I believe there is a global government and all this stuff. So I'm a big fan of this of these stories. But even this global government, it looks like this global government is not really certain about the future. So they don't know exactly where they drive. Or maybe I don't understand them. It's also possible. The question is, как дела вообще, если отвлечься от IT? They ask me, how am I doing, if not about tech, if not about IT? Well, I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. I tried myself just a few weeks ago as a director of a movie. That's my fun project, which I will present to you in a few weeks when we finish the editing, as it also takes long. So it's going to be very small, short movie where I just tried. It's my just like a sort of a hobby. I decided to try it. So if not about tech, then I can say that I found this and it's a very interesting. It's a very interesting activity, which is absolutely not related to tech, even though there is some tech. So we film on a digital camera, then we save those data into digital files, then we edit using the video editors. So all of this is very digital. But working with actors, directing them, telling them what to do, writing the script, and then positioning the camera, deciding what looks good, what doesn't look good in the camera, the colors, the sound. It's all very interesting. So this is what's going on outside of tech in my life. Что будет с зарплатами в IT в России и США в ближайший год-два? They're asking me what's going to happen with the salaries in the tech in the United States and in Russia. You better ask me what's going to happen with the United States dollar, what's going to happen with the ruble, what's going to happen with the Bitcoin. And this is more important question, because the salaries, they will continue to, I can say they will continue to grow, but continue to grow in which numbers? So right now, for example, in Russia, the salaries are growing, but the ruble is going down comparing to $2. So it's hard to say that the salaries are growing. Actually, salaries are going down if you measure in the on the global market. If you measure them against the if you get the local currency in Russia and then you go outside onto the foreign country and then spend your money there. But less and less people do that, so more and more people stay inside the country and they don't go abroad. So inside the country, the prices, they are more or less on the same level. They grow, but not as dramatically as the rate of the ruble comparing to dollars. So it's hard to explain in a simple primitive answer, like what's going to happen with the salaries. The salaries will grow, but at the same time, the Bitcoin maybe will go down. The United States dollar will maybe go down as it goes now. I mean, the inflation, the and all that. So in my if you really want to know not about salaries but about how much we programmers will be on demand, we will be needed on the market, then I think we will be needed, even though we have this chat GPT, even though we have this AI. But still, until this AI will actually replace programmers, we still have a number of years for when we programmers will be required. And then what's going to happen? It's pretty, like I said, it's pretty scary future. And I had a presentation. You also can find it on my YouTube channel. It's called AI versus humans or something like that. No, the robots versus programmers. That's the title. Robots versus programmers. And in this video, I draw the trajectory to the future. I forecast the future where programmers will be actually removed from the market, and they will be really literally replaced with computers. It's going to happen. But I think it's going to happen with the minority of programmers. It will happen with the elite group of programmers, the programmers who are busy in interesting projects, and projects where actually the management will have the courage and the ability and the brains to invite AI and to change the processes. So until we completely have AI, which will replace us, I think we have, at least 5 years or maybe 10 years. So we still okay. We programmers are still needed on the market. Что думаешь по поводу... есть ли у российского IT будущее? И что думаешь по поводу новости, что Минцифра хочет ввести сертификацию IT-специалистов? The question is there a future for IT in Russia? And when I think about the certification for IT experts, which is going to happen by the government in Russia. Again, you better ask me, is there a future for Russia the way we understand Russia now? Is there a future for any country the way we see these countries right now? I think this is what may change. I think the Russia, how we understand it right now, may be a different country in 5 years. So it may be really different, not just by the territory. It may be larger. It may be different by the semantic of what we understand is a country. So traditional way the countries were organized in the past, they were organized as we invented them 1,000 years ago, if we trust the official history, or maybe less, or maybe more, but long time ago, people decided to build the borders around people and call these people French people and these people Russian people, and there is a border between them. And they invented the passports, and they invented the visas, and they invented the taxation, they invented the customs control, they invented the border police to protect these countries. They invented all that. And we live in the world which was invented centuries ago. I think this may change. I think this paradigm may change in the future. So there will be something new. So about specifically the question about Russian IT, of course, since people live here, of course we need IT. Like we need to call taxi, we need to order food, we need to make a phone call, we need to do many things, and we need to make clothes, we need to make food, we need to produce all of that, and for all of that we need robots, we need computers. So of course there have to be programmers who write all this code. So saying that Russia doesn't have future in IT, but America has future in IT, it's just it just doesn't make too much sense. If you ask me about the future of large corporations and the corporations who own the key technologies and whether these corporations will exist in Russia, that's a different question. So whether, for example, Yandex will be the owner of key technology which doesn't exist anywhere in the world, because now American companies, they are the owners of key technologies. The majority of technologies, they belong to American companies, even though, like we discussed before, even though the whole world was creating these technologies. So everybody contributed to these technologies. So everybody did it together. But now America said, no, now we own them. Like, for example, ChatGPT. If you read the famous article about transformers, I think the title is "All You Need Is Attention." So one of the author of this paper was graduated from Ukrainian university. So he was studying. He was born in Ukraine. He learned the programming in Ukraine. We invested. I mean, I'm Ukrainian. So we invested time into this guy. We helped him to grow up. We we fed him, and then he graduated, and then he moved to America, and then there he made a really great scientific contribution. And based on this paper, based on this innovation of transformers, they created GPT, ChatGPT, and that's what we have. So who actually created ChatGPT? Americans or immigrants who moved to America because America gave better resources, gave better place to live. And now this technology is boom, it's American, and we closed the border. We closed the door. So probably we made a mistake. We Ukrainians, we made a mistake by contributing to American technologies for so many years. And now these technologies are isolated. But we cannot roll back. We can't go back to the moment where this guy was born and said, okay, now we know we're not going to let you go out of the country. So you're going to stay in Ukraine, and you're going to develop this open AI, ChatGPT in Ukraine. We cannot roll back like 50 years back, or maybe 100 years back. But right now, yes, we have technologies concentrated in the hands of a few corporations inside America, and this is what we have. So is there a future? Is there a possibility that something like that will happen in Russia, and some large technology will happen in Russia? In the next 10 years, I'm not sure. In the next 25 years or 50 years, maybe. But that largely depends on politics. It largely depends on political situation, on how much power, and mostly military power, will this block of countries, Russia, China, will this block of countries actually possess to defend their position in a global strike with the large competitor, who is America. So now we are definitely Russia, China, Ukraine together, all these countries who are not in North America. These countries are definitely in a very, very weak position. Talk too much about politics. So we have another 10 minutes, and let me try to pick the best question you have here. Yeah, I have too many, guys. So you probably need to come back to me next Friday. Is it worse? Sorry, I may skip some of the questions because these people already were answered. Is it worse in spending years working to get a PhD in computer science? Why are you doing this? Yes, definitely. I strongly recommend doing this. Actually, I'm doing it for the second time. So when I graduated from the university, I entered the PhD study, and I was studying for 1.5 years. I actually published a few academic papers, research papers. It was in 1993, my first 98. That was the first publication I made. My topic was databases, and then I quit. That was 1998. At that time, in Soviet, in Russia, in Ukraine, life was not really about science. It was about something else. So I dropped, and that was a mistake I made. So now I do it again. And I strongly recommend you do it, because you learn new knowledge, you study new topics, you change your understanding of computer science. You look at it from a different perspective. You become definitely better expert and more valuable on the market. So your price on the market, the salary you can ask for, is going to be much bigger. Yeah, I'm going to pick people who haven't been answered yet. Interesting question. What I think about the war with Palestine, between Israel and Palestine. Well, in my opinion, and I said it many times, I believe that there is only one reason for a real war, is the war between poor people and rich people. This is the war which really makes sense, which really is objective. So it happens because there is a real conflict between people. The people who own and don't work, and just basically consume more than they produce, and the people who are enslaved, the people who need to work more and consume less than they produce. So the conflict between these two groups of people is absolutely objective, and it should happen. I believe that the world is afraid of this conflict because they saw the consequences. They know what's going to happen when these poor people will ultimately stand up. Somebody will let them, and they will start killing those people who actually own the world right now. Start killing the capitalists. It's going to be a revolution. It's going to be a disaster. So in order to prevent this disaster, I think the people who are in charge, they organize conflicts which are based on a different confrontation. Black people against white people, men against women, Palestine people, Arab people, and the Israeli people, the Jewish people, for example, Jewish, Arab, doesn't matter. There are Jewish people who live in Palestine. They're Palestinian Arab people who live in Israel. It's a mixed situation there. And this conflict between nations, between Russians and Ukrainian, all of these conflicts, they're based on the false foundation. There is no real conflict between Jew people and Arab people, between Russian people and Ukraine. We are exactly the same. I am Russian, or I'm Ukrainian. I was born with a Ukrainian passport, and my parents, they speak Ukrainian, and my grandparents, they speak Ukrainian and not Ukrainian. I am also Jewish, so part of me is Jewish. So my grandparents, they were speaking Yiddish. So it's a mix in my blood. So I don't know who I am. And I have absolutely no conflict with the Arabs and with Russians or Ukrainians, because they're exactly the same people. I have only one conflict with people who take my resources, who don't work, and I have to pay them. This is the people who I really want to suffer. I want these people to be punished. But why I would want to punish some Arab guy who lives in Palestine because of some religious beliefs? Absolutely have no reason for that. Believe in whatever you want, as long as you work. So if you make something for me, you make food for me, you make some clothes for me, you make some software for me, I don't care what you believe in. Believe in anybody. Believe in spaghetti monster. It doesn't matter for me. You're black. Your color of your skin is black. The color of your skin is whatever. Who cares? As long as you work, as long as you useful for me, as long as you deliver something to me, and don't take my resources for nothing. So I think, to summarize, I think this conflict is orchestrated. I think every war in this planet, if it's not a revolution, if it's not a rebellion against against capitalists, this war is just a theater, it's just a show. It's orchestrated in order to drag our attention to this war, in order to distract us from the real conflict. So we all now pay attention. Who is right, the Jews or the Arabs? Who is right, the Ukrainians or the Russians? Let's make a decision. Who do you vote for? Who do you stand with? Put your flag on the Twitter account. Just be with one country, be with another country, in order to distract from the real war, which is probably coming or not. So we don't want it to happen, right? We don't want big wars. We don't want real revolution. We don't want real disaster to happen, because when the real revolution happens, then it's a big disaster, and we absolutely want to avoid this. I mean, any reasonable, any smart person would tell you, any person with the brains will tell you, no, revolution is bad. So they give us an alternative. They give us a different war, a less violent, a less destructive, like the war in Israel, for example, or the war in Ukraine, or the war in Korea, or the war in, there were many wars, or the war with the with other people, with other countries. So that's my opinion. That's my attitude to any war. And I actually wrote about this maybe 5 or 6 years ago. If you go to my political blog, I have a blog which is now translated to English. So if you go to my blog and then you find the link there, politics, then click the politics, you can find all my articles. There are not so many of them. All of them are translated using ChatGPT to English. And one of them is exactly about the war, where I say exactly what I just told you. Okay, sorry about taking your time with the politics for so long. There is a question related to hiring juniors. What mechanisms do you use to identify if this person suits your team? What do you think about computer science bachelor degree? Is it important for long term? Well, the degree is important. I already said it. Bachelor degree, master degree, PhD. Get all of these degrees. You're not going to waste your time. Just do it. Just do it while you're young. You're not going to regret that. It's not going to do any bad for you. Maybe it will not do as good as you expect, but it's not going to hurt you. So get the degrees. And about hiring juniors, I can tell you that my experience tells me that junior programmers deliver more results and they're more effective than senior programmers. In my 30 years of programming experience, the older the people become, the less they work, the more lazy they become, the more unflexible their mind is, the less they ready to change their thinking, their attitude, their beliefs. So they believe in something that they learned 20 years ago, the majority of people. I'm trying not to be that kind of person. So I'm trying to accept new beliefs, accept changes, which is difficult. The older you become, the more difficult it is to admit the fact that I was wrong for many, many years. So people start to protect themselves instead of learning, instead of opening to new ideas. They just defend themselves the older they become. So if you give me a junior programmer who is ready to work, who is ready to learn, who is ready to contribute, and you give me a senior programmer who also says that he's ready to work, he's ready to contribute, I'm going to choose the junior one. So give me 2 juniors instead of 1 senior. Definitely, I would choose 2 juniors. The juniors are more flexible. It's easy to fire them. It's because they will not suffer because of that. They will find another job the next day. So they easily can move from company to company. I feel no problem when I fire some junior programmer, because I know that the next week he will join another company. It's okay. He will maybe find a better position there. It literally sounds like he will find a better position, he will be more suitable there. For the senior guy, when you tell him, you're going to be fired, and he's like 45 years old, and you say you're going to be fired, so you better try to find a better place in another company. It's a tragedy for the guy, because he may not, or she may not, find that position because the salary is big, the connection to the company is huge. So these people, they move from company to company much more slower and much more with bigger trouble. So junior programmers are good, seniors are not. Sorry, I skipped some of your questions, guys. This one I don't know what to answer. That's an interesting one. Do we need the QA when we have ChatGPT Copilot? Well, first of all, I have to correct you that QA and testing, there are 2 different things. And what you call testing, what you call QA is actually testing. So testing is, I have a number of lectures about this. You can find on YouTube. So QA is about controlling the quality of processes, the control of the quality of programming, the quality of testing, the quality of management, the quality of motivation, the quality of deployment, the quality of DevOps. This is all QA. Testing is just exactly like code writing. So code writers, they write code. Testers, they're trying to break the code. They're trying to run the product and prove that the product is broken. So can we replace the testers with ChatGPT? We can replace anybody with ChatGPT. We will replace programmers. We're going to replace testers. Everybody will be replaced. That's for sure. It's coming. And it's coming soon. This is what's scary. It's coming like next year. So next year we're gonna see systems which actually test our code and show that this is the bug. And they write a very detailed description of how to reproduce the bug. So it's coming. Uh, I see that that's an interesting. I have noted that you visit Kazan and Innopolis regularly last year. What do you think about developing of IT in these cities and what your forecast about developing IT there? Well, I don't believe in IT in one specific city. I believe in IT in the world, on the planet. And I think that IT doesn't have any borders for the last, 10 years for sure. So sitting in Kazan, you can easily work for OpenAI and develop ChatGPT. Well, with certain restrictions right now, thanks to the politics, but it doesn't matter where exactly you sit. But why Innopolis? I actually teach in two universities. I teach in High School of Economics, HSE in Moscow, and in Innopolis University in Kazan. I like Innopolis University because it is very, in my opinion, very international. It's very modern. If you compare Innopolis with HSE, then HSE is sort of catching up. So HSE is trying to become more modern and trying to become as international as Innopolis already is built. So Innopolis was built from the start as an international university, as an international place. And that's why all the teaching processes, all the student management processes is very international. It's all in English. All the documentation is in English. So all the teaching is in English. In HSE in Moscow, they still have the Russian documentation. They have all the project documentation has to be in Russian. They use Russian standards, which are very old. So these standards for documentation formatting, even though they're Russian, they were good 40 years ago. But now people don't use this. So it's time to change them. It's time to do something new. So people use different formats right now, but they still get stuck into very old formatting of the paper. So I can compare, and Innopolis I like in this aspect, I like it more. But in HSE, there is something else which is better than Innopolis. So next time I can probably tell you about that. Mm, okay, one last question. Sorry, but we have to finish. It's just 1 hour of talk. I'm trying to find the best one. Okay, this one. How can one programmer earn more credibility and trust in a company to be given more important projects and responsibilities? Any piece of advice to climb the career ladder more efficiently? In order to climb your career ladder, you should stop being a programmer. You should start being a career ladder climber, which is a completely different story, which is not about writing code, which is not about making your code elegant, which is not about testing and making sure your code works, which is not about satisfying the needs of your customer. It's about making your boss happy. So you have to do something to make the boss not only happy, but to get the promotion. So you should contribute to the promotion of your boss, not to GitHub repository, but to promotion of your boss. It's a completely different type of activity. It's absolutely irrelevant. It's absolutely orthogonal to being a programmer. So forget about programming if you want to grow on the career ladder. And how to make your boss happy, that's a completely different story. It's a topic for many lectures. So you can read the books about that, which one of my favorite book is called How to Be a Rat. So find this book. So they actually, the authors, not very popular book, but it's very well written, How to Be a Rat. So you have to be a rat. You have to rat on your friends. You have to betray your friends. You have to betray maybe your boss sometimes. You need to work with people. You need to find a way how to degrade, how to decredit your colleagues, how to make them look bad so that you look better. So that's all you should think about: how to compromise your colleagues, how to compromise their activity, how to find flaws in what they do, how to point out that they violate the rules of the company. When you can do that, you will be promoted. But that's not about programming. So if you want to stay with programming, if you want to really if you really to remain in a technical territory and you don't want to be a rat, then your promotion will be slow. You will probably move from programmer to senior programmer in 10 years, and then to I don't know how they call it, principal programmer in another 10 years, and then maybe to super expert in another 10 years. But it's going to be just the same office. You'll be sitting next to the same people. You will be going to the same meetings. You will be doing the same things. You will be working with the same code base. It's going to be the same old routine. So I would not bother. I would not be concerned about career in this case. Just do what you love to do. Just enjoy coding. Just enjoy your projects. They just do open source when you have time. Just write some papers. Just listen to some interesting talks. Just enjoy your life. Don't think about promotion. Promotion is for people who are ready to fight, who are ready to backstab their friends. That's a completely different activity. So that's it, guys. Thanks for coming. We have 68 listeners right now. I hope I answered the majority of your questions like you expected. So see you. I will try to do it every Friday at the same time. So see you next time. Thanks for listening.